Have you ever been caught in a storm? Now, imagine being lost, alone, and tiny. This is the story of a little kitten stranded in the rain and a kind girl who changes its life forever. Stay with me to hear the heartwarming rescue of Stormy. It was a dark and stormy evening. The wind howled through the trees, making their branches sway like ghostly hands reaching out in the night. Rain poured heavily, drumming against rooftops, streets, and windows like 1,000 tiny drum beats. It was the kind of night where everyone preferred to stay indoors, wrapped in cozy blankets, sipping warm drinks. But out in the storm, something small and helpless was in trouble. Lena, a kind-hearted girl with a love for animals, was hurrying home from the library, her arms wrapped around her raincoat to shield herself from the cold. The storm had arrived suddenly, catching her without an umbrella. She carefully stepped through the puddles on the sidewalk, her boots splashing water with every step. Then, as she turned a corner near the old oak tree by the park, she heard a faint sound. Meow! Lena stopped. Had she imagined it? She stood still, letting the wind and rain roar past her, straining her ears. And then, there it was again. Meow! A tiny cry, barely louder than the wind, but it was there. It was a sound of fear, of loneliness. Lena's heart pounded. That sounds like a kitten, she murmured to herself. She looked around but saw nothing, just the dim streetlights flickering in the rain. She took a careful step forward, scanning the area. Then, beneath an old wooden bench, half hidden by the shadow of the tree, she saw it. A small, shivering kitten, its fur soaked and clumped together from the rain. Lena's heart ached. "Oh, you poor little thing," she whispered. The kitten was tiny, barely the size of Lena's hand. Its fur was white with patches of gray, and its big green eyes stared up at her, wide with fear. It trembled, pressing itself against the cold, wet ground, trying to make itself as small as possible. Lena slowly crouched down. "Hey, little one," she said in the gentlest voice she could manage. "I won't hurt you. I just want to help." She stretched out her hand, but the kitten shrank back, its tiny body shaking. Lena bit her lip. The poor thing was terrified. How long had it been out here? Had it been abandoned? Lost? Was its mother somewhere nearby? She needed to gain its trust. Carefully, Lena reached into her bag and pulled out her scarf. It was warm and soft. Her favorite scarf, actually, the one her grandmother had knitted for her last winter. But right now, the kitten needed it more than she did. She laid the scarf gently on the ground. "Come on, sweetie," she coaxed. "It's warm. You must be so cold." The kitten stared at her, its little ears flattened against its head. For a moment, it didn't move. But then, very slowly, it sniffed the scarf. The warmth must have been inviting because it took a hesitant step forward, then another. Just then, boom! A loud clap of thunder shook the sky. The kitten let out a frightened mew and darted backward. Lena reacted without thinking. She reached forward and carefully scooped the kitten up before it could run into the street. "Shh, it's okay," she whispered, holding it close to her chest. The kitten wriggled at first, its tiny paws pressing against her coat, but then, slowly, it stopped fighting. It was exhausted, too weak to resist. It buried its little face into her rain-soaked jacket, its shivers slowly calming. Lena smiled softly. "You're safe now." She hurried home, shielding the kitten from the rain as best as she could. Inside, Lena rushed to her room, quickly grabbing a soft towel. She gently wrapped the kitten in it, patting its fur dry. The poor thing still trembled, its little nose twitching as it took in the unfamiliar surroundings. Lena ran to the kitchen and poured some warm milk into a small bowl. She placed it on the floor and gently set the kitten down in front of it. At first, the kitten only sniffed at it cautiously. But then, as if realizing how hungry it was, it began to lap up the milk with its tiny pink tongue, making soft slurping sounds. Lena giggled. "You were really hungry, huh?" She watched as the kitten drank until it was full, then let out the tiniest little yawn. It wobbled slightly on its feet before curling up into a small ball, right on the edge of her fluffy rug. Lena reached out and stroked its fur gently. "You're going to be okay," she murmured. She stayed by its side for a while, watching as the kitten slowly drifted off to sleep. That night, as the storm continued to rage outside, Lena made a little bed for the kitten using an old basket and a soft fleece blanket. She placed it near her own bed, and as she lay down, she heard the softest little purr coming from the basket. It was a happy sound, a safe sound. Lena smiled. "I think I'll call you Stormy." The kitten stirred slightly at the name but didn't wake up. Instead, It let out a soft sigh and snuggled deeper into the blanket. Lena turned off the light, feeling warmth spread through her heart. Stormy had found a home, and maybe, just maybe, Lena had found a new best friend. The next morning, the sun peeked through the curtains, casting a golden glow across the room. The storm was gone, leaving behind the fresh scent of rain in the air. Lena stretched and turned over in bed, only to find a small, fuzzy ball curled up right next to her pillow. She let out a laugh. "Stormy, you sneaky little thing!" Stormy blinked up at her sleepily, then stretched its tiny paws and let out a long, dramatic yawn. Lena giggled and picked it up, cuddling it close. "Welcome home, little one." From that day on, Stormy became a part of Lena's life. They played together, explored together, and Stormy would always curl up in Lena's lap whenever she read her favorite books. Stormy had found love and safety. And Lena, she had found something she never expected, a tiny, furry best friend who had turned a stormy night into something truly special. That's how a stormy night became the beginning of a beautiful friendship. What would you name a rescued kitten? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more heartwarming stories. See you next time.